Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you with a very fancy comic book today. We are going over G.I. Joe, a real American hero, #2. And this is the original Marvel Comics run. And I have to say, I really, really love this book. And then just off the cover, it's supposed to be like this action and stakes. And yet here's the dude with the bubble gum on the cover. Love it. And this is the Panic at the North Pole. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this because this was really fun. You kind of think that these older books, you kind of go back and read it and you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of a filler issue, whatever. But I like the way that this was written. This was really, really fun. And then what kind of really hit me in the feels here is at the beginning. I like the way how Marvel always used to kind of give a description of like the hero that you're reading about. Quartered in top secret armored underground bunkers, deep beneath the Army Chaplain's Assistant School at Fort Wadsworth, New Jersey, the most fearsome rapid deployment team of all, America's elite counterterrorism strike force. Stan Lee presents G.I. Joe, a real American hero. So just kind of like, oh, Stan. And then the people responsible for this at the time was Larry Hama doing the writing, Don Perlin doing the penciling, Jack Abel inks, Jim Novak doing the lettering, Bob Sharon doing the coloring, and Tom DeFalco as the editor. So pretty big all-star cast here at this point in time. And the print date on this comic book was August 19, I believe it was, 82. So old school, man. And so the Army is here at this bunker in the North Pole, and they see that it's been ravaged, and they don't know what to make of it. And they're really worried because there's American personnel files missing. And then wait a minute, just because this is the 80s, wait a minute. Look at this big hunkering piece of technology that they have to use to broadcast to the Pentagon. 80s. And so they're asking what they should do. And what's it called? They immediately suspect the Russians because on the other side of the Arctic is a Russian base, and this was during the Cold War, so lots of tensions. And they're like, well, let's not start jumping to conclusions and start talking to Moscow because we don't want to escalate things. And so what they suggest instead is we'd better cover ourselves and check it out. Send in the G.I. Joe team. I've already taken the liberty of pulling the dossiers of the 4 team members best qualified for this mission. And this is funny. So we're introduced to Stalker. And so he sees tracking a deer. He's like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. And then boom, 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 helicopter. And then over loudspeaker, your leave has just been canceled. Yeah, I'm about to cancel your face. I've been tracking that stag for 6 hours. So poor Stalker. And then we go over to MIT. And then we're introduced to Breaker. And these 2 girls, they want to ask him out. They're a little nervous. And then Bubblegum Guy cover. And what I like is, see that he's working on some really complex stuff here. And they're talking once we get past the ends. And then all of a sudden, they're like, where did he go? So, Batman. I like how he just boom, boom, gone. And then Scarlet, and right in the middle of a martial arts thing, Colonel Flag, I think, says your mission, your leave's been canceled. We're not going to wait for your match to end. And just like in martial arts, you never turn your back on your opponent. And I guess she goes, I don't think my opponent is ready to concede. Please excuse me. Thwack right in the face. And I love that, just how the past movements are grayed out. And then just, yeah, great stuff. And then we come down to Columbia University. And we see this dude smacking on this isolation chamber, and he goes, okay, Mr. Classified Snake Eyes, your leave is canceled. So you can just pull your wet little bod out of there, and my God, that face. He's like, yeah, it'll be far more presentable if you give him time to put his mask back on. So apparently Snake Eyes had a butterface back in the day, so poor guy. So real quick, check that out. Boom, boom, boom. We are introduced to our team. We don't need no little dialogue boxes saying, oh, look at Snake Eyes. He's so moody, LOL, so random. Just boom, 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 boom. And we are ready to go. Smack, bang, boom. We are on our way to the mission. And they're giving them how they're not supposed to interact with the Russians at all, or just to observe. And if they get under fire, to back off. And then bang, they're dropped. And one thing that I really enjoy is Larry Hama. One of my favorite writers from Wolverine. But from what I understand, if you want to know more about him and kind of the story of how G.I. Joe came to be, make sure to check out the documentary series on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us. And Larry talks about how he got, how they had him write G.I. Joe, because this comic book and the cartoon were ways to introduce Hasbro's 3 3/4 toy line at the time. They were trying to figure out how to reboot the G.I. Joes back from the old 12-inchers. And they started with comic books. And that's how they got people excited for the toy line. So that's all this was. But inadvertently, Larry Hama being a great writer, and he served in Vietnam. So when you read this, a lot of it sounds legit instead of like someone just kind of reading backstory and war novels. Larry Hama experienced it, and you really feel it a lot in these old G.I. Joe books. Now, with all that said, we find that there's this Eskimo guy. He comes into the Russian base, takes some stuff, and just takes off. So the G.I. Joes invade, and they're like, wait a minute, if he's able to do it and left the door open, then at least we can go in there and be warm. But we come to find out that this Eskimo is resourceful. There is TNT, so they have to run, and there's like how the pacing goes. You kind of get a calm moment when they're observing the Russian base, and they see this Russian Eskimo guy come in, take something, leave. They're like, wait a minute, he left the door open. They invade, they start checking, doing all the recon that they're supposed to do, and then Snake Eyes finds the TNT. Boom, great pacing, and the panels and the dialogue work together like a comic book should. Now, again, because this is 82, I love, the technology. So they get the film of what they've taken, and he's like, teleprint it back to General Flag. Teleprint. And he's like, it may take a while for a response, as we have smartphones nowadays and satellite imagery. So they're having to run after this Eskimo because he's on a dog and sled. They're on foot. And it's like hours later they get a print back. So it's like, think about trying to carry like a teletype thing on your back and try to hoof through the snow and that. Just oof. But anyway, you come to find out this guy, his name is Quinn. He's very much kind of like a man of all trades here. If you want to read more, go ahead and pause it. I'm not even going to go through all that because, lots to read. But again, you come to find out again that this Quinn is resourceful because they think that Stalker, being this main tracker guy, they come up on his base and they're like, don't make any sudden more TNT. So Quinn kind of goes through, he takes all their supplies, their radios, everything. And this plane that they come upon is broken. So, because he's like, hey, being a pilot was not in his dossier. And like, well, and another thing I got to stress again is whenever he takes a job, because he's sort of like a merc. He takes jobs from anybody. And he says he never talks about his past employers for no matter what. And so Scarlett's like, well, why are you telling us all this? Your dossier said you never explain stuff. And he says, y'all are out here in the snow, no supplies, no radio, you're dead men. But he doesn't know the G.I. Joe so well. They're able to figure out a way to build kind of like a paracel. So that's kind of neat. I wish that I had those type of skills. That'd be pretty tight. But again, Quinn is resourceful, and I don't want to give that away. This is a great book, guys. And what's kind of neat is how they catch up with him is they're kind of put in a moral dilemma. So you'd think Quinn is like the bad guy, but he's just doing his job. And he's talking about how he wants the G.I. Joe to intervene in a way. And they're like, well, then why don't you let us? I can't. A contract is a contract to the letter of the word. Man, I wish more people were like that nowadays. If only there was some other way. And what happens here is so cool. Yeah, there's some action, Great dialogue. But what I like here is how Hama poses a moral dilemma on this kind of morally ambiguous guy, because what he gets hired for the Russians, he knows in his heart is bad because it's something he doesn't believe in. But he's like, I wish the Americans would have hired me first so that I could give this to you. What is this? Read the book. And that's where he says, I can't. A contract is a contract to the letter of the word. That is awesome. The artwork in this book is amazing. The panels are dynamic. The pacing is great. Guys, if you want a great G.I. Joe comic that's action, straightforward, and entertaining, G.I. Joe #2. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost check with your local comic shop to see if they have this in their back issues. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a minute to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel grow more than you could possibly know and just helps us out in general. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little Yo Joe bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love to hear your feedback and have a dialogue with everybody down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll leave the links down in the description below. And so with all that said, thank you all so much for stopping by. I hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, Shoe Believers.